Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of race number 7, the 63rd season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. This is the next to last race of the regular season. We are getting down to crunch time for drivers to lock themselves into the playoffs, whether it be through top 12 in points or a coveted checkered flag. Last week's race saw a complete shakeup in terms of the playoffs. Another driver adding their name to the list of those trying to make their way into one of those coveted playoff positions. And tonight, Talladega Superspeedway gives us the next chapter in this storybook season. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Michael Norman. And Michael, I remember I asked you at the beginning of the season, what's the goal for these drivers? What's the mentality and everything? And you told me, kind of approach this as a must-win situation, try and get that early victory. If you don't end up winning the race, you've got some regular season races to work with. Where are we at now? I mean, a lot of drivers come in pretty comfortable up in the point stands, but what about those guys below the chase cut line? Are we treating this as a must-win situation already prior to next week's regular season finale?
Well, doing the best that we can, Seth. Honestly, you've got a limited time, so you've got to try and do your best to get done with as much as you can. So yes, you would want to try to position yourself to get a win. Points are everything, but as it gets closer to the cutoff time, yes, you definitely got to start treating this as a must-win.
Obviously, a couple of drivers not in the field here tonight with what's been going on down in the southeastern United States.
Can you speak?
No, I can't apparently. With all the stuff that's going on with Hurricane Milton, obviously our thoughts with everybody down there that's affected. So we will not have a Joe DeSpirito in the field here tonight. His power is currently out. But we have 34 drivers that are going to take the green flag here tonight. So still a big field, a lot of points on the table. And as you hear the command to fire the engines up, it's going to be Jessica Shelton and Robert Breedlove on the front row here tonight. They'll have Bob Seminara, Hank Middleton in row 2. We're being told Seminara will be starting shotgun in the field, though. He's been having some connection problems here during practice. In row 3 is going to be Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
There it be, first one of the night. Josh Metallic will be alongside of him in 6th. Row 4 will be Ken Roberts and Doug Kulik. Greg Lovell, Rodney Sullen's going to complete the top 10. Last week's winner, Mark Paglia. He's locked into a playoff spot. Just got to stay in the top 20 in the point standings. He's going to be on the inside of row number 6 alongside of Mike Mangialardi. Jeremy Jeffries and Chuck McClure, they're going to be back in row 7. Row 8 finds Tim Knopfsker and Jim Glaude. Row 9, Donnie Garrett. He's been on a momentum streak as of late. Had the victory a couple of weeks ago and has been on the podium the last couple of weeks as well. He'll be sharing that row with Bernie Mobbs. And your top 20 is going to be completed by Brian Lovell and Billy Elliser. Back in the 21st position, Jeff Crivello. He's back in that 11th row with Terry Bombard. Row 12 finds Brian Schilling alongside of Jeffrey Elliott. Kelly Causey, Graham McDonald. They're back in row 13. Row 14, Ulysses Sandoval and Denny Carroll. And your top 30 complete with Brian Rawson and Bob Dixon. In the final 2 rows, Doug Woolley, Bobby Farrell. They're back in row 16 and row 17, completing the 34-car field. Cy Jones and Tom Dixon. So we're going to be talking a lot here tonight about the playoff cutoff line, as we have 12 drivers right now in the top 12 in points, comprised of 5 former winners and the other 7 spots drivers that have not yet gotten a checkered flag. Jeremy Jeffries leading the overall points by 5 points over Chuck McClure, 11 over Bob Seminara, 16 over Brian Schilling. Jessica Shelton sits 5th, Josh Metallic in 6th, Joe DeSpirito, Grant Wesley, Donnie Garrett, Randy Waugh,
Luigi.
Bernie Mobbs and Ken Roberts. They're the remainder of the top 12 in the standings. Those drivers, if the season were to have come to a close, regular season that is last week, would have been locked in on points. Mark Paglia is the only driver outside the top 12 with a victory. He is 15th in overall points, above the 20th in standings cut line. So right now, 13 drivers would be eligible to advance into the postseason. Will we add another one tonight? We'll find out. Green flag waves for race number 7.
Here we go. I promise I'm not moving burgers in the background. I'm not pulling double duty and working down in a...
You just cracked open a cold one. What do you got?
Silver Coke.
Silver Coke. I don't know how to describe what my beverage is tonight. We're 3 wide. Shelton now in the middle. Breedlove tried to go to the top 3 wide. Here comes Josh Metallic on the bottom for the race lead. Metallic, former winner of the season, already locked into the playoffs, but 6th in overall points, 37 points out of the points lead. We talk about that regular season championship pays out 15 points, which equates to 3 checkered flags during the course of the regular season. Gonna be close here for who leads lap 1. Ooh, Metallic barely gonna get it over Shelton, but Shelton has the momentum in that middle line going into turn 1. We've seen a lot of different races here. I'm sorry.
I'll say, wait and see how this goes for these drivers, Seth. Getting at it pretty early.
Shelton clear. We'll move to the bottom in front of Metallic. Still stacked up 3 wide, 3rd place on back, and we've seen a lot of different races here down the home stretch of the regular season. We've seen races where pit strategy and pit road have been the key factors, and we've seen a couple of races here where there have been some pretty massive wrecks, some big ones. We had the huge one. A lot of drivers kind of having to survive in some of these races, and it's kind of hard to tell as we get to these final couple of races of the regular season which side of the pendulum is going to swing to. We've seen where drivers will have that sense of urgency and we'll end up seeing the big wrecks as a result, but we'll also see drivers kind of have the mentality of, if I'm going to be in the hunt for this victory, I got to at least keep my car in one piece, and we'll see races trend green and end up seeing the green flag pit stops and pit road strategy end up being the key factor. So, we're still obviously in the early going of this one, but it'll be interesting to see which side of the spectrum this penultimate race of the regular season ends up drifting to. Single file amongst the top 6 or 7, back to Chuck McClure. As Shelton continues to lead, then it's 3 wide from 9th place on back. Hank Middleton here in the 2, leading the middle line. Ken Roberts up there on the top side. Woo! Contact up at the front. Rodney Sullins down below the yellow line. Doug Kulik also looked like it was out of shape in the 3rd position. They've settled that back out.
We already have one car 1 lap down.
Oh, we do, yeah, Bernie Mobbs. I wonder if he started from pit road? Yeah, because he's not even with the lead. Wait. Oh, hold on. He might have fallen out. I don't even see him on the racetrack.
Oh, yeah, Bernie Mobbs. Yeah,
Bernie's another member of the Florida gang, so you got to wonder if that might be something to do with the effects of Hurricane Milton. I think he may have just reconnected. So we'll have to figure out how many laps he'll actually be down. He may end up getting some of the laps added back.
And
yep,
he's on
there he
pit
is.
Road and leaving pit road.
Yep. The Daniel Hemrick looking machine, the Circle Water Chevrolet. We saw Hank Middleton stuck in the middle, ironically enough. And now that outside line is surging forward. Shelton sees that momentum coming. Oh, contact! Shelton into Hewlick. They're going to spin into the inside, and they're wrecking further back. That's Graham McDonald upside down. Now the caution will fly. Big wreck going into turn 1. Crivello is up and over. Doug Woolley, Denny Carroll, Terry Bombard.
Trying to see what was happening there. Just did move up.
Jeffrey Elliott's up against the wall there. Billy Elliser in the 26 is quite a bit of damage there.
The 2 just pretty much took out the 9.
Yeah, the closing rate was huge, and they were in the tri-oval. There's Shelton, who led 3 of the previous laps. And Bernie Mobbs, it's going to be a big break for him, because if he were to end up getting all but 1 lap back, he would then be the lucky dog here for this caution. Should be back on the lead lap when we go back green. But I was going to say, the contact there with Shelton into Hewlick, I don't think that actually had brought out a yellow. I think the follow-up wreck is what actually brought the caution out. And we'll go back and take a look at all that happened there. We'll take a look first at the contact with Shelton and Middleton, and then what happened further back with the 33 of Graham McDonald. So here's why I don't think this would have brought out a yellow. I don't think the 9 or the 23 spun until they were below the yellow line, so that would have been off the racing surface. But you see here the closing rate that the 2 has, and gets into the back of Shelton as they had not even exited out of the tri-oval. Doug Kulik with a pretty good shot to the back into that inside wall. And then you saw Bobby Farrell sliding on by with a couple of other drivers. That was the follow-up wreck that started with Graham McDonald. Let's go to the chopper cam here, show you just that closing rate we're talking about. Shelton saw the run coming, moved up to preempt it, and Middleton just mistimed the bump. And you can see right there, Jeremy Jeffries knew it was going to be a wrong time to bump. He backed off to allow the 2 to be able to back off, and Middleton didn't. We'd say it almost every week, doesn't matter if it's Talladega or Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, the tri-oval is maybe the worst place on the racetrack to bump because it's not a turn, it's not a straightaway. It's where the car is going to be at its loosest, and usually, more often than not, I mean, probably 90% chance you bump somebody in that corner, they're not going to save it. They're going to get out of shape. Here's a look further back at the rear of the field, watching the 33 of Graham McDonald, and I don't know if this was all in reaction to what was happening up ahead, if there was some checkup. Yeah, Schilling gets on the brakes there. Denny Carroll gets sent back into Brian Rawson, and then he gets spun down into Graham McDonald, who goes up and over, and woo, Tom Dixon just narrowly avoids there. Schilling was involved, I saw, in the 4. Former winner on the season. Won, of course, the season opener here at Talladega on fuel. And last week was involved in a wreck that took him out of the points lead. Here's a look at how he was involved in the Wiley Cody tribute scheme. Oh, right there, Billy Elliser gets clipped by Terry Bombard. Schilling, Jeff Crivello, Billy Elliser all swept up in that one. There's Jeffrey Elliott, the yellow car up there against the outside wall. Let's see, who would give us the best onboard here of what occurred? How about Donnie Garrett? I bet Donnie's got a pretty good look of what happened. Woo! Clips the grass, almost spun it out, but kept it going. Nice save there by Donnie Garrett. Former winner on the season, locked into the playoffs, above that cut line of 12th in the stands as well, and started this race pretty deep in the field, able to make his way through. So first caution here this afternoon, here this evening I should say. Nobody out of the race at this point that were involved in the wreck. Though we have a number of drivers on pit road, and quite a few had some extended stays on pit road for crash damage. Bob Seminara stays out. He'll get himself a bonus point for a lap led. I believe Hank Middleton also got a bonus point for a lap led the previous time around. So I think Josh Metallic, who was the leader coming around to our yellow, should resume the lead. Seminara and Jeffrey Elliott have yet to come to pit road. So Metallic, Knopfsker, Sullins, Roberts, and Lovell, Greg Lovell that is, should, I believe, be our top 5 when they all start doubling up. We still have the lights on atop the pace car here. And we should go back green, I believe, on lap number 11. So if you're looking for some drivers to keep an eye on here tonight that if they are to win this week or next week could lock themselves into the playoffs either just above or just below that 20th in standings cut line, here's a list of drivers that you should probably keep a wary eye on. Billy Elliser, Terry Bombard, Brian Rawson, Cy Jones, Greg Palmer, Bob Dixon, Kelly Causey, Brian Lovell, Jeff Cravello, Doug Woolley, amongst some of the drivers that mathematically with a win here tonight would either lock in above the top 20 in the standings cut line or just below the 20th in the standings cut line, would leapfrog up in above that cut line and clinch themselves a playoff position. Interesting call here, Michael. Jeffrey Elliott is going to stay out. He's going to get a bonus point for a lap led, but he is going to be about 6, 7, maybe 8 laps shorter on fuel than everybody else. Bit of a Hail Mary play here by the driver of the 56. Do you like this call? Do you have your microphone muted and just don't know it?
Yep, that was exactly what happened.
I was trying to figure out why you were doing sign language to me when we're in a booth, but you know, it's fine.
No, I see. It's a very tough strategy call, Seth, because you and I both know that it's heck. You know, you can never guess when a caution's going to come out,
or if it's even going to come out.
Exactly. You never know what's going to happen, so it's a very tough strategy call, and if it pays out or pays off, then you know it'll be pretty cool.
Well, I mean, the pay window pays out, so you know the words worked.
I mean, yeah.
If you think about it hard enough. I mean, think about it too. The situation Jeffrey Elliott's in points wise, he is currently sitting 41st in the standings. He is, if I can do some quick math in my head, about 70 points below 20th in the standings. So, you know, what do you got to lose? Go for a alternate strategy here, and as you said, maybe it will pay out. So he'll lead us back to green. Will Jeffrey Elliott? Josh Metallic will be on the outside of the front row now. Tim Knopfsker, Rodney Sullins back in row 2. Ken Roberts, Greg Lovell, row 3. Chuck McClure and Randy Waugh
Luigi
in row 4, and Mike Mangialardi, Mark Paglia, last week's winner, are going to make up the top 10. All drivers involved have continued on, all on the lead lap. Bernie Mobbs, the problems that he was having apparently persisted, came back into the server and has retired out of the race. So Bernie will get credit for 34th place. And Bernie came into this event 11th in the point standings, only 5 points above the 12th in the standings cut line. So he may be below the cut line heading into next week's regular season finale at Burt Screwdrivers Raceway. Jeffrey Elliott moved up to the middle to block Tim Knopfsker, who moved up in front of Josh Metallic. Now goes back to the bottom there to pick up the 55 of Ken Roberts. So I believe Jeffrey Elliott, if this thing continues to trend green, he might have been able to save a little bit of fuel there under pacing, but he will certainly have to be on pit road around lap 20 to make his first official pit stop of the evening. He's hoping that a yellow flag comes out prior to that. I don't know exactly, obviously, you know, lap 18, lap 19 would be ideal for him, but I don't know if we were to get a caution right now, how many cars it would draw down pit road and how much track position he'd be able to keep. But for the time being, you see, he's just hugging the bottom of the racetrack, which I think is strategy in and of itself, because he doesn't want to get boxed in on that high line and have no avenue to pit lane when he eventually would have to make the potential green flag pit stop.
Exactly. You want to keep an eye on that. Make sure that you know you have what you need and position yourself where you need to be, so you can get down to pit road if we have to pit under green.
And I think it's probably safe to say that if he does come to pit road, there's going to be probably nobody that comes down pit road with him, because you're in essence giving up 5-6 laps that you could have enough fuel still to be able to run. And I don't have like the numbers in front of me real quickly of how many stops Jeffrey Elliott would have to make for the remainder of this race as opposed to everybody else. Tim Knopfsker, though, out in front. We talked about the hardship of Bernie Mobbs, who is above the cut line and is out of the race. Knopfsker is below the cut line, 1 point below the cut line, tied with Rodney Sullins for 13th place. Rodney right now running in the 3rd position. The driver that those two are trying to stay ahead of right now would be Ken Roberts, who is the cut line driver 12th. However, though, with Bernie Mobbs out of the race now, Mobbs dropping out, either Knopfsker or Sullins could move into the top 12.
Gonna be exciting news right there for some of these drivers as well.
And I mentioned about there being a lot of points on the table with a dead last finish and 34 cars in the field tonight. Bernie Mobbs might potentially be heading into next week in a must-win situation to get back into the playoffs. I mean, that's a lot of points left up for grabs. I mean, it will depend on other drivers around him where they finish, like Rodney and Tim, Billy Elliser, Terry Bombard, drivers that could take advantage of pointing their way up into the top 12. But if they all have really good points nights or one of them gets a win, Bernie could find himself in a very, very precarious situation heading into next week's regular season finale. For those that are wondering about Joe DeSpirito, what his situation would be, he came into this race only 12 points to the good above the cut line. So he's obviously giving up a lot of points here this evening as well. Don't know if he might drop out of the top 12 in the standings. He does not have a win this year, so he is not locked in via a checkered flag.
Oh, and you know very well, Seth, that he's going to want to try to do that as best as he can.
Could make things very interesting for next week, with a lot of good drivers who have spent a majority of this regular season above the cut line, either maybe being right on the cutoff area of 12th in the standings or just below it next week. A couple of drivers back here in the latter half of the top 10. Chuck McClure, the defending champion of the series, right now holding down the 8th position, and like a shark smelling blood after a great run last week, he is hunting the regular season championship, only 5 points behind Jeremy Jeffries for the overall points lead. Chuck is yet to win this season as well, though it is looking very likely that he will be moving into the postseason to defend his championship from season 62, but he wants to go into that playoffs with 5 extra bonus points and a race victory. Right now, if we're looking at the point standings between him and Jeremy Jeffries, Jeremy is back in the 19th spot, so Chuck McClure, according to live scoring, would be the new points leader as things currently stand.
5 point standings. We have that back?
Well, we don't, but we do have points.
You're just doing math in your head.
Doing math in my head. You're right. But again, I said this last week, and I'll say it again this week. Shout out to Jeremy Jeffries for...
Hate doing math.
Well, that too. That's my shout from the rooftops proclamation. But no, a shout out to Jeremy Jeffries for working on the point standings each week here so that we still have those statistics to bring to you all, especially down around this critical portion heading towards the playoffs at the end of the regular season. Really appreciate Jeremy putting in the time and the effort there. And obviously it's important for the drivers too to be able to know what kind of a situation they're in heading into each one of these weeks. What do I got to do to make sure that I am in the playoffs or can get into the playoffs? Am I in a must-win situation? Do I just need a top 10, a top 5? Helps these drivers with their pre-race strategy as to what they want to do and when they want to do it. You saw Billy Elliser in the 26 get put a lap down. Brian Schilling, second straight week of hardship for him, as now he's going to go a lap down to the race leaders. Obviously off the pace, involved in that early incident. Just last week at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, Brian Schilling went into that event as the overall points leader and came into this race fourth in the standings, 16 points out of the points lead. Going to be another poor points performance for the 4-car here tonight. Obviously, as we mentioned, locked in to the playoffs with his victory in the season opener, but was looking like one of the favorites to garner the 15 bonus points with the regular season championship, but he's really going to need a good run next week to counter the 2 bad runs he's had last week and currently happening now. Doug Woolley about to go a lap down the 99, and we do have a few other cars just up ahead in danger of going a lap down too. Tom Dixon, the 45, Graham McDonald in the 33. So we're finally starting to see, Michael, the effects of that big wreck there at the exit of the tri-oval into turn number 1. Everybody's gotten themselves pretty much single-filed out here. Tim Nofsker continues to show the way. A couple of drivers involved in that wreck have mounted some good comebacks. There's Denny Carroll in the 41, right now holding down 10th. We saw him spun out on the entrance to turn 1. And Jessica Shelton, who got the bad bump from Hank Middleton exiting the tri-oval, the pole sitter, has made her way back up to the 12th position. So good comebacks here for a couple of those drivers. Looks like Bob Seminara's internet troubles have sorted themselves out for the time being. Remember, he started shotgun on the field after scheduled to roll off 3rd because of the connection problems he was having. And he's been able to work his way all the way up through the mayhem of turn 1. And right now slotted into the 13th position. Here's one of those drivers we were talking about, that it with a win could put themselves into the playoffs. Kelly Causey in the 00. Right now in the 15th position, 22nd in points coming into this one. 3 points below 20th in the standings, so no doubt would move up into the top 20 in overall points if he were to win here tonight. Lock himself up a spot in the championship hunt. And Brian Rawson, who was a multi-time winner last season, got his first career win and more back in season 62. Actually advanced into the Final Four to compete for the championship as well. Right now in the 19th position, trying to work his way up towards the front there. Getting some help from Jim Glaude. Jeremy Jeffries, the points leader coming into tonight right there in that pink number 1 babbling machine as they're getting around some slower traffic of Graham McDonald and Tom Dixon. We saw Jeffrey Elliott with that alternate strategy. He was able to lead a couple of laps and then came to pit road about 6 laps ago and took it to the garage. So he will join Jeff Crivello and Bernie Mobbs behind the wall. They will finish 32nd, 33rd, 34th respectively, leaving us with 31 drivers still running, and at this point in time, 26 of them on the lead lap. Got some moves being made here around the 9th position. Donnie Garrett, who, as I mentioned, has been on quite a momentum streak as of late. Of course, had the victory a couple of weeks ago. And he's making a move on Ulysses Sandoval, Mark Paglia. Got a lot of help down the bottom there, too. Denny Carroll, Brian Lovell, Ken Roberts, Kelly Causey there as well. And other drivers up ahead starting to see that inside line form. And they'll all move down there as well. Getting close to pit stops, too. We went back green. I believe it was on lap 11. Which means these drivers, for the most part, would be able to make it to around lap 31, lap 32. So I don't know if that was necessarily the top 5 all moving down there, seeing that inside line coming, or just making sure that they are also positioned for when we eventually have pit stops, whether they be under green or not.
Keep an eye out for it, Seth. I'm sure pit stops here will be happening very soon.
And we have seen so many times, Michael, pit road plays just as much, if not more so, a part into who ends up making it to the playoffs and who doesn't. You would think at a super speedway, the dreaded big one, any type of wreck up above that yellow line would be the sketchiest part of the race, but no, pit road usually is where a lot of these races and a lot of these playoff spots are won or lost.
Oh yeah, and we've seen it happen plenty of times.
Now, there are a couple of drivers that did come to pit road at the 1 to green to top off, so they could go a little bit further. Jessica Shelton, Robert Breedlove, Brian Rawson, Jeremy Jeffries. Those drivers all came to pit road at the 1 to green. Might have also been getting a little... Oh, caution's out. Never mind. I was going to say they could maybe go an extra lap if we had a cycle of pit stops, but we are not going to have it under green because the yellow flag waves on lap 26. Second caution of the night. And I did not see where that incident occurred. I don't... Oh, somebody just spun on the back straightaway. I think Brian Lovell just got spun on the back straightaway, but I don't know what necessarily brought this yellow out. Maybe the 6 of Brian Rawson, because he was working his way up towards the front, and he's now towards the back of the field.
Oh, no, it was a wreck. So, yeah, Rawson, the 72, the 17. Oh, the 17 got turned by Robert Breedlove.
This was over into turn 3. Looks like maybe checkup. Let's see here. McClure. Oh, yeah, a little bit of stack up there. Sandoval had to lift for Paglia. And then when McClure lifted, Breedlove's into the back of him. Terry Bombard, Jim Glaude, Bobby Farrell, Tom Dixon, Mike Mangialardi back there on the top right. And as I take a quick glance, we had a number of drivers get put a lap down there under that green flag run. I believe Brian Schilling, Graham McDonald are both going to garner the lucky dogs here for this yellow flag. So they'll get back on the lead lap. Yeah, there's the checkup again. Oh, it's a big hit for Brian Rawson. Got sandwiched up there between the wall and Jim Glaude. Hank Middleton there in the grass, he was involved. Bobby Farrell had Tom Dixon slide down into him. And then there you see Brian Schilling and Graham McDonald making their way through. They were not involved in the wreck, so they would be eligible for the free pass under this caution. So now we go back into the games of who stays out to get a bonus point for a lap led, who thinks track position is more important. This caution coming out right on the eve of 40 laps to go, which would be one stop to the finish for most drivers. So I think it's safe to say pit road only has one more part to play before the conclusion of this race in terms of the fuel they would need to be able to make it the rest of the way here tonight. As Robert Breedlove got the bonus point for the lap led there. Winner off of pit road was Tim Knopfsker, who's led a race high 16 laps so far here this evening, so he will more than likely be who cycles back out to the front with Josh Metallic, Rodney Sullins, Greg Lovell, and Randy Waugh.
BG.
Going to be your top 5, more than likely when we go back green. We're going to step aside, folks, here under our second caution of the evening for an FRN race break. You won't miss a thing. We'll keep you here with the action, and then we'll return our coverage when they get ready to go back green here in race number 7 of the season for the RTG Talladega Challenge Series.
A challenge.
Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway as we get ready for our second restart of the night. You saw the drivers
restart of the night.
You saw the drivers clutching a lot here under these pacing laps. We're right on the mark where these drivers would be able to make it on one more pit stop.
Just about, yeah. All right, Seth. Moment of truth, all right?
Okay.
What was it?
I'm gonna say it was a red soda.
Yep.
So I got a question for you then. Okay. I said I didn't know how to really describe it, but you ended up saying, I think you said silver Coke the first time. So mine is an orange soda.
Who loves orange soda?
Yeah, it's not actually orange soda, the flavor. The can is orange.
Is it some type of cream soda?
Nope. So my folks this past weekend made a trip up to Maine, and we cannot cross over the Maine border and enter back into the state of New York without bringing back some Moxie.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, yeah. If
Not
you're
sponsored.
a New Englander, you know what I'm talking about. Ask
Hashtag
Anthony. Anthony knows. Anthony knows how good Moxie is.
Hashtag not sponsored.
I think have I ever run a Moxie car? No, but I have seen.
Think you have.
I have seen. I don't remember who it was, but there was somebody in the sim racing community that had a Moxie car, and I was like shocked because I didn't think anybody else really were all that enthralled with Moxie that they would put it on a race car. It was actually pretty cool. You saw there that Graham McDonald and Brian Schilling got the free pass, so we have 28 drivers on the lead lap of 31 running. And Tim Knopfsker is your current race leader. Knopfsker trying to lock up that bonus point for most laps led tonight. So far, the only driver that has been in the double digits, 18 circuits out in front. Next closest would be Josh Metallic, who has led only 4. Shelton, who's not that far back, has led 3. And then there's been 2 laps led by Jeff Riella, and everybody else is out in front, has been out in front for only 1 lap. Those drivers including Bob Seminara, Hank Middleton, Robert Breedlove. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning into our coverage here tonight as we are nearly halfway home. Next week, though, if there's a race that you want to tune into outside of the elimination race of the playoffs or, of course, championship night, it would be next week because it's when we put the playoff field together. It is the final regular season race at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Green flag next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of drivers will be able to breathe a sigh of relief after this one, knowing that they are either locked in through a win or maybe high enough in the point standings to not fall below the cut line. A lot of other drivers, they'll be sweating it out next week as some of them will need to rely on a good finish to point their way up into the top 12. A lot of others might find themselves in must-win situations, and you put 30-plus cars out on the racetrack with different agendas and a lot of drivers with desperation. It makes for very, very interesting racing, and it may end up coming down to a race of survival at the end of the night.
And, of course, that's always makes for some good, exciting racing.
Oh, yeah. The fans always win in those kind of scenarios. Robert Breedlove looked like he was thinking about making a outside line there, and nobody bit. He is going to start falling back. He was 9th last time by, and he will more than likely fall outside of the top 15, maybe top 20. He'll slide in right behind Jessica Shelton in front of Ulysses Sandoval, so that's going to be around the, I believe, 13th, 14th position where he will drop to.
You're a 14th position.
Out of how many?
Your 14th position out of 10.
Wow. Either I am really, really bad or super talented, because that's not even a spot that's up for grabs and I won it.
Inside lane trying something back there, Seth.
Got a slow car up ahead. I think that's Bobby Farrell in the 92.
Well, you know what, Seth? You're a slow car too. That's why your team's called Backmarker Motorsports.
Well, used to be. That
Uh-oh,
team went
someone
through
just blinked.
so many iterations.
You ever jam a finger, and then every time you go to like crack your knuckles or fingers, it just kills you? That's what's happening right now.
I have jammed my finger before, but I am not a believer in cracking knuckles, so I've never actually done that. This is just me. I don't know what the sensation or the relief is of cracking
Oh,
knuckles.
somebody is. I think that's
That's
the
712.
712.
Yeah, and he's going to the back again. Doesn't sting nearly as much now with Seminara having to drop back for his warp as it did earlier on in the season when he didn't have a victory.
Right.
With a checkered flag now, knowing he's going to go playoff racing no matter what, it makes it a little bit easier. Granted, though, when you're 11 points out of the points lead, have a shot at the regular season championship, it kind of would get annoying.
I will say, excuse me, I feel really lucky and proud of the power company that that services the lines here in my specific town, because I feel like without them, obviously, and since Hurricane Irma came through a couple years ago, they've rebuilt a power grid that completely. They had to rebuild a lot of my town's power grid from scratch after Irma because Irma destroyed it pretty badly. But since then, I have not lost power in a single hurricane. Since then, so knocking on wood, of course.
I heard the wood knock.
So hearts and prayers go out to those affected, especially one of our own, who lives down near the Tampa St. Petersburg area.
Yeah, we talked with him just before we came on the air, and he's back home. They had little damage to the backyard, but
Just no power, and I think he said his generator was about to run out too, so he's going to be actually without power until the actual grid comes back on. And I feel bad for him because he's in the worst affected area, and that's probably going to take a while for his power to actually come back.
Got the double whammy this year with Helene and Milton.
Milton is the only one that got me. Helene didn't really get my town at all. It was just a lot of wind.
I know it was
from the outer
threatening your
bands.
area, but yeah, I don't think it didn't actually terribly impact your area.
We just got outer bands from Helene.
Right.
So, and then this one actually the eye wall almost pretty much came over my town. But luckily, it was a very weak hurricane when it did. So Seth, what are you thinking? When do you think we're going to see these drivers on pit road?
That's a good question, and I was actually just in the middle of trying to figure that out. So we went back green
around like 30-ish.
Yeah, and it was with about roughly 40 to go. We were just past 40 to go. So that would put these drivers being able to make it, 20 laps, pit stop, 20 laps.
So probably just shy.
Lap
so we went
52, I believe, was the number that I calculated. That's
kind of what I was.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what I was thinking too. So I feel like without another caution, these guys will probably be coming down pit road all around anywhere between lap 49 to 52.
Now, what makes it interesting there, if lap 52, if our calculations are correct, and that's the furthest they could go, you can go with 2 cans of fuel, but there is the option if you saved enough, that'd be around, 14, 15 to go, so you could try for a can and a half. Because we're basically told that on a single car run, you can go about 20 laps. And so obviously if you split that into quarters, a half can equaling 5 laps, you'd be able to go those 15 laps on just 3/4 of fuel capacity. I don't necessarily know, though, if you're a driver like Tim Nofsker, who's out in front leading this thing, if that's an option for you or not. You might have to go with 2 cans, because you're obviously using up a lot more fuel than everybody else behind you. Your target lap might be a lap or 2 sooner than lap 52.
You weren't asking me a question, were you?
No, I was kind of making a blanket statement to which
Okay.
you
I was
could
gonna say.
either agree or disagree.
I was gonna say because I was reading something and my mind went totally blank, and the last thing I remember you was saying like earlier than lap 52, and I was like, wait, you weren't asking me a question, were you? My ADHD brain can only focus on one thing at a time.
Your ad hood. We do have a couple of updates on some drivers that have lost the lead pack, and we do have another retiree out of the race as well. Doug Woolley, former champ, 2 laps ago, came to pit road.
Number 99 as well.
That's who it is. And he's gonna
You know
finish
what?
in 31st.
You know what?
Doug Woolley and holy cow! How fast did you burn through that one Coke? You the Chug-a-Lug champ or something?
I could chug a whole can of soda in like 3 seconds, 2 seconds, something like that.
My gosh!
It's something I'm not proud of, but and it probably should stop.
We're gonna have to have a can counter on the screen or something every time we hear a hiss crack.
Oh, trust me, you haven't seen my room before I clean it, so.
No, that is true. I have seen your room, but
that's why I always keep a trash bag or a trash can next to me.
oh, what the heck going on there?
Dang it, I was drinking something when he did that. I almost spit it all over my computer.
I'm not sure what exactly went on there. There were a bunch of drivers that were trying to get down to the bottom, and
might have been just a slight bit of bumper grab.
Maybe. Nice save there by Josh Metallic, though.
So Seth, I guess the question remains is this. Again, if these guys can make it one more stop and they're already trying to fight to get to the bottom, how early do you think we're going to see them come to pit road?
That's the thing, right? Because there is the possibility. Remember I mentioned the fact that Nofsker potentially can't take the can and a half. He'd have to take 2 cans. If he's got teammates that are planning to come to pit road with him and he absolutely has to take on 2 cans of fuel, you could maybe see them on pit road as soon as 2-3 laps from now, right at 20 to go.
Jess out there trying to lead the outside lane. The question is, did her spin and follow-up contact with the wall hinder her arrow?
And the car behind her is the other car that she spun into, the 23, who took a pretty good impact with the back end and the inside wall. So both of these cars, kind of jury's out on how much damage did they sustain, how well can they lead a line.
Well,
Shelton and Doug Kulik.
Got a lot of cars behind them. They're holding a little bit steady back there by what looks to be about the 9th position, give or take. And
look who one of the other cars is up there in that outside line. Brian Schilling, who we saw go a lap down during the last green flag run, had to rely on the lucky dog to get back on the lead lap, and he is in the lead pack. Looks like he is up to speed. Last time by was scored in 13th position, so all hope potentially not lost for the former winner, former points leader.
This is funny. We have the 088 leading and the 88 0 in second place.
It's a lot of zeros and 80s and 8s up there, aren't there?
And 80s.
We just need Milt Surratt out there, the 80 car, and then we would have them all.
Nope, and then we would need
and then
the
Grant.
88.
Yep. Yeah, no Grant in the field here tonight. Saw on the Facebook post he said he's gonna be watching. So if you're watching, hello Grant.
Don't you have the chat?
I'm talking about the race post on Facebook today.
I know, but don't you have the chat up so you can
I do have the chat up, but so far we had an early comment before we went green from Jeffrey Elliott, and we got Al Sullins in our chat as well, cheering Rodney on. All right, so if they are going to pit right when the window opens, it would be now. Shelton Hewlett, you saw right there, dive down to the bottom. They found an exit behind. That was Denny Carroll.
An exit buddy?
An exit buddy, yeah. No, they were each other's exit buddy right there with the 9 and the 23. When I talked with Mark Paglia last week after his trip to Victory Lane, I said, what are you now looking for? You're locked into the playoffs if you stay in the top 20 in the stands. And he said, we just want to ride this momentum. We want the consistency here to close out the season. He's the only former winner that is below the 12th in the standings cut line, 15th in points, but he's only 2 points below that cut line. So running 8th right now, he could move up above 12th in the standings as... Ooh, okay, he faked me out. He had 2 tires almost down below that yellow line. I thought maybe he and some others were planning on coming to pit road that lap. Just had a very low exit off of turn 4. But I am seeing chat lighten up, Michael. Do we have some radios potentially saying that they're coming to pit lane?
It's very much possible, Seth. Guess we'll find out.
You gotta think Nofsker's one of them. The leader has led 34 laps here tonight. Been a while since we've seen a driver actually really dominate the laps led category this season. Let's see, is the leader coming in? Greg Lovell's coming in. Nofsker's in. Sullen's in. Your entire top 5. Is this the whole field?
Side down,
oh, no!
Oh, look at that. Circle kept it going, but he's not going to be able to make it. He's not got to go around all the way again.
Kelly Causey in that 0-0. And no caution.
That was 100% on Cy Jones. Oh, and Ken Roberts just got turned. And now we have more wrecking on pit road.
Did we have anyone stay out? I think everybody came to pit road and Causey yeah, because Causey led the lap. And he's the one that missed pit road after the contact with Cy Jones. I think we literally had all 25 of our lead lap cars try to come to pit road together.
Oh, and we're 4 wide off of pit road.
Are we really?
Yeah.
Oh, we were.
Oh, we're 2 wide now.
We got to settle this out. Okay, we're good. Brian Schilling, Bob Seminara, they pitted a lap earlier. So now they're getting set to mesh with the rest of the field. Causey now going to hit pit road, obviously by himself, and Mike Mangialardi coming back down pit lane in the 029. That must be for a speeding penalty. Billy Elliser in this lap as well. And this is who the lead should cycle back around to. Tim Nofsker. This, some more smoke lingering there in the trial. Well, I don't know if that's from the earlier incident coming onto pit road, or maybe the calamity you were describing on pit lane. Whatever it is, that smoke's starting to clear there in the infield. As 5 drivers have been able to break away. Nofsker, Garrett, Lovell, Sullins, and Carroll. Greg Lovell is in a must-win situation, 30th in the point standings. He is 27 points below the 20th in the standings cut line. And Denny Carroll is also in a must-win situation. He is 31st in points. And he is...
Safe to say that that second pack is going to catch this top 5 pretty soon.
Yep, I think you're right. Denny
look at the 26.
is 38 points below the cut line. 20th in the standings, that is.
Oh, look at all the draft, and look at all the lap cars they're coming up with right here.
They took Elliser low. They take Cy Jones high.
Coming up on Tom Dixon now.
Oh, you talked about Ken Roberts having an issue on pit road, Michael. Black flag penalty for the 55.
Not only did he get spun on pit road, but now he has to come back.
I wonder if when he got spun, if that might have been what shot him over the pit road speed limit. Might have gotten a bump from behind that spun him out or something.
Think these lap cars might come into factor? No, maybe not.
No, I don't think so.
Now the question is, when the 39 gets this pack, does he go up high or does he take it low?
It's going to have a big run. You'd think he'd want to take it somewhere. Let's see. Does he show the nose to go high? Yes, he does. Jeremy Jeffrey's going to go with him. Ulysses Sandoval, Chuck McClure. The pit strategy of coming to pit road a lap earlier really worked for the 7, 12, and the 4. They're now up here inside of this lead group. with a chance of cracking the top 10. Pole sitter Jessica Shelton up here in this group still as well. And how about Ulysses Sandoval in the 96? We haven't really talked much about him here tonight. Ulysses coming into this race 26th in points. He's only 13 points below the 20th standings cut line. So a win would lock him into the postseason. As there you see the 55 of Ken Roberts getting lapped after he had to serve his pass-through penalty.
A win would lock him into the playoffs, and his post-race interview would lock him into the history books. Tell me I'm wrong.
It's not a post-race interview without a shout-out to Mama Sandoval.
No limbs, Sandoval.
Well, we hyped it up about how much pit road comes into play. It definitely played a factor for a couple of drivers, but that's it. We won't see them back on pit road for the remainder of this race. Everybody is good to make it to the conclusion, so next time around, 12 laps to settle this thing out. And you look back there at that group.
Doesn't have a lot of momentum.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say. You look at that outside group, and they're not really making up a lot of speed there.
It's like they hit a wall. I feel like if Ulysses can get clear and move up, that they could probably take that momentum. But
is it because they're even number of cars? There's like 6 on the bottom, 6 up in the top?
It's possible. I know they're coming up on another lap car.
That's Bobby Farrell in the 92. I mean, the one thing that I can say is this outside line is trying to pass an inside line that is running the middle. They're not down on the bottom. So, we've seen this in the past, especially here at this particular racetrack. You see those white dashes indicating the 3 different lanes. Really, though, there are 2 lanes in between those dashes, and we've seen drivers try and, squeeze each other to be able to fit those 2 lanes in the middle and go side by side. That might be why we're not seeing this outside line really be able to get going, as they probably would if they were down in the line that the inside line is in, and the inside line was right down on the yellow line on the bottom.
I don't know. They're definitely going to need some more cars on the outside, and I feel like, Seth, there in the last couple of laps, you might see some people jump up to the outside lane.
There's also an inside line available. Like, there's nobody down
below.
The
outside lane is dying out a little bit more.
Yeah, nobody down below that white line at all, that lower white line. So if somebody were able to generate enough of a run back here, like around Sullins, Carroll, Sandoval, they might all try ducking down to the bottom, seeing if they can put the top 3 or 4 in a 3-wide situation.
Outside lane's dying out a little bit now.
Here comes Seminara. He's going to try it. Nobody going with him, though. Gets to the inside of Ulysses Sandoval. And Seminara's going to drop back here. Probably have to tuck in behind Brian Lovell. In this lead group, we only have 13 lead lap cars. We do have some lap machines intermingled here. The 7 of Cy Jones, the 45 of Tom Dixon, the 029 of Mike Mangialardi, so they could be some of those proverbial X factors in helping push a driver to the win. Here we go. Metallic could not make the outside line work, so he says, all right, you know what? We'll try the inside line.
Going to try to squeeze up to towards the middle lane.
It's like they're making a lot more progress here on the bottom than they were up on the top. And now they're starting to gain some numbers there as well. Brian Lovell going to jump down there. You got Donnie Garrett right now pushing Tim Nofsker, but we saw Nofsker and Metallic working together almost the entirety of this race. If that inside line continues to push forward, will there be a point that Nofsker jumps down to the inside line, yields the top to Donnie Garrett in order to pick up his teammate in the 39?
Now a couple of people The inside lane's kind of dying out again.
Chuck McClure jumped up to the middle line in front of Jessica Shelton, leaving Metallic and Jeffries by their lonesome, and Jeffries bumper grabs off of Josh Metallic. He's up and over. Chuck McClure was collected up as well. Caution's gonna fly. Look out! Oh no! Oh man, Doug Hulick. It's race back as well, which is why you didn't see some of those drivers lifting, but Jeffries was going to be fine, I think, even with the flip. But that's going to really kill the race car. The points leader coming into tonight. The top two, actually, right there, just wrecked with each other. Top two in points. Jeffries and McClure.
And we're going to have a restart.
Yes, we are. How many laps, I'm not certain.
Should be, I want to say, about 3.
Yeah, we ended up having a one-lap shootout a couple of weeks ago when Donnie Garrett went to victory lane. We've had a couple of one-lap shootouts this season. But this restart might be very interesting because we're going to end up getting multiple laps in the closing stages. But we will be in our point of no return. Let's go back and take a look. We caught most of that live. Certainly looked like initially bumper grab there. Jeremy Jeffries and Josh Metallic by their lonesome on the inside line. Jeffries trying to push for all he was worth to keep the momentum going on the bottom. The way that kart darted to the right, I think he may have bumper grabbed off the back of the 39. Here it is right there. Yep, definite bumper grab. Chuck McClure, wrong place, wrong time. Jeremy Jeffries up and over. But it didn't really look like it was a flip that would cause a lot of impact, a lot of roof damage. And then right there, I think Hulick thought that Jeremy had it straightened out. And then at the last minute, Jeremy's car kind of turns up to the wall. And Hulick was already committed to that lane. And pretty big impact there to Jeremy Jeffries. Let's see how bad this impacted Chuck McClure. We know he spun down to the inside. Did he hit the inside wall or not? There's the hit to the outside wall, and then makes contact with the left front. He'll have some damage, might not have much. The biggest problem for Chuck is this is going to be a very short number of laps on this restart, and he lost a lot of track position. He needs to be restarting back outside of the top 20 along with Jeremy Jeffries.
So I just heard that Metallic is afraid that he caused it, so he's gonna take an EOL, and Bob Seminara was told to go to the back because of the warp.
So a couple of former winners on the season also going to be back at the rear of the field there. Metallic and Seminara, by virtue of their victories this season, obviously locked into the playoffs, but kind of the same deal as what I was just talking about there with Jeremy Jeffries and Chuck McClure. I mean, we're probably going to get, to your point, 3 laps. Maybe not even that much if we end up having the race end under yellow. That's not enough time, I don't think, to work back up to the front. Maybe to the top 10. Maybe just barely into the top 10, but certainly not into the conversation for the race win. So we're going to keep an eye on that Wiley Cody tribute pace car. See when the lights do go out. I don't expect them to go out this time by. More than likely next time by, so we probably will get the green on the completion of lap 63 onto 64, which would give us 3 laps to go. Our point of no return, if you're not familiar with what that would mean that the next flag would end the race. If the white flag came out, they would race back around this 2.66 mile superspeedway to the checkers, no matter what. But if the caution were to fly, they would race back to the yellow, and whoever got back to the start-finish line first would end up winning the race under caution. Some of the names we got up here towards the front now. Nofsker has led the most laps so far tonight. That was his 48th lap led. That's 44 more laps than anybody else has led so far here tonight. Dominating performance for Tim Knopfsker, who came into this race just below the 12th in the standings cut line and is still looking for his first win on the season. Donnie Garrett, who won a couple of weeks ago, is the only former winner up here in the first 4 rows, looking for win number 2. So far, we have gone 6 for 6 in drivers getting their first win of the season. We're yet to have a multi-time winner yet here in Season 63. Greg Lovell lines up in the 3rd position. He's been in the top 5 all night long. He's still looking for his first win on the season.
Long. Oh, sorry.
And then Rodney Sullins in the 38 car, also just below the 12th in the standings cut line, still looking for his first win on the season. Had the great run last week at Burt Screwdriver's Raceway. He's on the outside of row 2.
Did I call that, Seth? Did I say a 3-lap to go restart?
I think you
sure
did.
I did.
Yeah. Ulysses Sandoval looking for his first career win in 5th. Denny Carroll looking for his first career win in 6th. And when I mean first career win, I don't mean first win of the season. I mean first win overall here in the Talladega Challenge Series.
Who?
Sandoval and Denny Carroll. And I believe Greg Lovell also falls under that category. Brian Lovell, who's on the outside of row 4, also. Jessica Shelton, been a long time since she's been to victory lane. Started on the pole, looking to go coast to coast. As a matter of fact, the last time Jessica Shelton won a Talladega Challenge race, we weren't available that night to broadcast. So maybe we're the problem.
Guess we'll find out. I mean, there was that one time you were talking about her and then you jinxed her and she immediately blew her engine.
That's true. That is true.
And that was on lap 6.
I have been told, though, that sometimes when you're up here in the booth, she ends up running into problems, and then when you're not, she does well. So I don't think we fully have established where the curse comes from.
You're still the problem.
Okay. Cy Jones, Graham McDonald. I'll just take it. Cy Jones and Graham McDonald, they're going to get the lucky dogs. So we'll have 24 drivers on the lead lap when we go back green. All the rest of the drivers that are off the lead lap are 2 laps down or more. So we will not have anybody else finishing on the lead lap of those 25th or lower. Doug Kulik is out of the race, so he will finish 29th here this evening. And you mentioned about the 712. Looks like his internet problem sorted out, so they are letting him stay up here at the front. He'll restart in 12th alongside of Brian Schilling. Unless something drastic happens, I think we're going to have another change for the overall points lead. Jeremy Jeffries took it last week after Brian Schilling had some hardship. You've got Schilling up here in 9th, Seminara in 10th. The top 2 in the points coming in tonight, Jeremy Jeffries and Chuck McClure, are slated to roll off 20th and 22nd on this restart. So the points at the top of the board will shake up once again, it looks like. And speaking of shake up, things are about to get very interesting here. 3-lap dash to finish out for the penultimate regular season race. Knopfsker's led 49 going on 50 laps so far tonight.
Wow.
Garners you a bonus point for most laps led. But you need to lead that all-important final lap as well to lock yourself into the playoffs via a victory. Can Knopfsker do it?
Punching up.
Can we get these final 3 laps? Little over 7 miles under green. Knopfsker, Garrett, the front row. Greg Lovell, Rodney Sullins going to be the pushers for their respective lines. Green flag in the air. Nice pushing on the top there. From Lovell to Carroll to Sullins to Garrett.
Either Ulysses didn't get going or the top 2 got a good restart.
I think it was the latter. I think Knopfsker and Lovell really timed it. Oh, we are leaning. We are making contact. We are shoving down the back straightaway. We're almost bumper grabbing down the back stretch, but we settle it out.
Third lane, Randy Wah, Luigi.
Greg Lovell trying for the lead here through 3 and 4. Nofsker's got the middle line covered with Donnie Garrett. Here comes that 21 you were talking about. How about Kelly Causey up there? Causey trying to come back from the spin he had during that last cycle of green flag pit stops.
There's
2 to go.
Not a good enough run on the inside.
More drivers seeing that third line coming, testing the waters up there. Only 4 or 5 cars in the middle line. 7, 8 cars on the inside line. Oh, we are slicing, we are dicing, we are almost 4 wide back here.
We are 4.
Shelton up the middle. Brian Lovell going to tuck in line behind her. Denny Carroll was almost into the wall with that 4 wide situation. How did they make that work?
No idea.
Can they get through the dreaded tri-oval? They just got to get back to the stripe and we will finish this race. They're gonna make it. Nofsker takes the white flag. 1 more lap to go here from Dega. Garrett's already got a win this season, but he could be the first multi-time winner. Nofsker, Lovell, Sandoval, all looking for their first wins of the season. Caution's out. Nofsker gets spun. That's the leader. And everyone's involved. Schilling's going to get through. Brian Schilling's going to get through. They continue to wreck. Here comes Paglia on the 28. It's a 2-man show. I think Wile E. Coyote on that number 4 may have set off a dynamite and it just took out the field. Here comes Paglia to the bottom. Paglia and Schilling through the tri-oval.
He's going to stop hitting the apron.
Paglia's
going to get it.
Gonna get it. Holy cow.
And look who finished 3rd.
Terry Bombard. Where did he come from? He crossed the line 14th to take the white. Robert Breedlove's going to get 4th. Brian Lovell's going to get 5th. It's a who's who of who crossed the line out of all the drivers involved there on the back straightaway.
I'm sorry, but I have got to look and see at that replay at that
My
again.
good, we're going to be looking at some replays. I guarantee you. We had to go up to the front to watch the battle back, but like, what 90% of the field was gone.
Terry Bombard might not finish 3rd. I say that because he was the one that it looked like he was the one that initiated
the initial caution. Like, we had wrecks in 3 different areas of the field. But Mark Paglia is going to go back-to-back. Not only does he get his 2nd win of the season, the first driver to do that in season 63,
your channel.
but Paglia...
I just fell out. That was weird.
Buddy in your channel timed out.
And he's gone again.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, you're still here.
Yeah. I think the crash was so bad it just crashed everything.
But not only does Paglia become the first multi-time winner on the season, he does it back-to-back. How about that? Mark Paglia was below the 12th in the standings cut line coming into this evening. He will jump up into the top 12 in points now, and for the 2nd straight week, he's going to get to burn it down in that quality care Ford.
Oh, sorry.
Not Seth Rollins.
I got a little carried away. Well, you said burn it down.
I did. We gave you the top 5. Brian Rawson, who was actually, ironically enough, the last driver in Tally Challenge history to go back-to-back. That was last season. He's going to bring it home 6th in the 6th. Jeremy Jeffries. Okay, I'm going to eat my own words. Because I said that on that last restart, there was no way with starting last car in the lead lap that Jeremy Jeffries or any of the drivers back there were going to have a shot of getting a really good finish up inside the top 10. He finished 7th. Donnie Garrett's going to bring it home 8th. Cy Jones is going to be 9th. And Greg Lovell is going to complete the top 10. We're going to show you the
questions there, Seth.
Yep. We're going to show you the finishing results here in just a moment, but we got to go back. We got to take a look at some of the stuff that happened there. I mean, the wreck for the lead involving Nofsker wasn't even what brought out the yellow. The yellow was already out at that point.
Did you see the two cars wreck yet?
That's what we're actually looking at right here, because this is actually what brought out the race-ending yellow.
Focus on that 2 car.
Hank Middleton. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, you have. Yep.
Luigi flew. Waluigi, I should say. And it still continues to barrel roll. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you remember this name, but there was a guy that we used to know called Barney Ward. And he had a series where he would try and cause like the most horrific wrecks with AI in NR. And he had a series called Count the Barrel Rolls. That's kind of what I'm getting vibes of here when we watch the 21 car. Not only up above all the campers there in the back straightaway, but then you see him barrel roll. And then as the thing starts to straighten out, a couple more barrel rolls. So that's what brought out the initial caution. Let's jump further up to the front of the field with our race leader, Tim Nofsker. Let's try and dissect how this came about. Saw a lot of drivers fanning up there to the outside line. Nofsker comes up to block Donnie Garrett. Garrett is there. So Nofsker hooks himself off the nose of the 77. Greg Lovely saw there hit the inside wall. And at that point in time, when it's the white flag and we know we're racing back to the checkers, there ain't nobody gonna lift.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe it's Garrett right here. Oh, no, it's Sandoval. Comes back up the track. He gets Shelton, Sullins, Seminara. All the drivers that thought that most of this wreck was going to migrate down to the bottom of the racetrack. That was not the case. Oh, my gosh. It just continued over here into turn 3. McClure, Metallic. I think Seminara actually went for a flip. Let's put it back here to where McClure was at. Yeah, Shelton actually went up and over. Kelly Causey flipped. Oh my gosh, Seminara flips into the catch fence. Metallic was up and over. Dixon was up and over. And then we got to go on board with 2 drivers in particular. Brian Schilling and Mark Paglia. So Paglia crossed the line to take the white flag in 9th. Brian Schilling crossed the line in 6th. The 2 of them find themselves coming out of turn 4 in 1st and 2nd. Here's how they got through, starting first with Brian Schilling. Down to the bottom, completely avoided everything. Mark Paglia, though, he had a little bit more of an adventurous lane he had to go through.
I'm pretty sure, Seth, I once won a race by doing the exact same thing.
Yeah?
It was an iRacing race at Talladega.
You just gotta be right place, right time on a lot of these. Incredible job by those drivers, able to make their way through. Terry Bombard finished in 3rd. Let's just quickly go on board with him, see how he got through. He was 14th when he crossed the line to take the white flag. Wow, even the late miss on Denny Carroll. And if those 2 up ahead might have made a little bit of contact, Terry Bombard might have been the one going to victory lane. But, well, I said that, said it was going to be a shakeup. It definitely was that on the final lap. And here are the unofficial results from this one. After all the drivers involved made their way back around to pick up whatever spot they could at the start-finish line. Paglia with the win, Schilling in 2nd. Might have been enough for Schilling. Well, no, I was going to say might have been enough for Schilling to reclaim the points lead, but with Jeremy Jeffries having the comeback run of 7th, I think Jeremy will keep the points lead heading into next week. Schilling will take a bit of a chunk out of it, though. Terry Bombard with the podium in third. We talking to those three in a minute. Breedlove in fourth. Brian Lovell in fifth. Then Rawson, Jeffries, Garrett, Cy Jones, Greg Lovell, the top 10. Tim Nofsker led 52 laps tonight, but he did not lead the last lap. He'll end up in 11th place. Josh Metallic, who was up front most of the night, 14th for him. Rodney Sullins, who had a shot late, 15th. Shelton right behind him in 16th. Chuck McClure, the defending champion, deep in the field there, got caught up in the late race wreck, finishes 19th place. Denny Carroll, we were talking about him having a shot maybe at his first career win, 21st for the 41. Randy Waugh, who took that wild ride there above the catch fence, 22nd. And I believe Jim Gloud was the last driver at the time on the lead lap. But you see some of these drivers, Sandoval, the 21 of Randy Watt, and the 72 of Jim Gloud didn't even make it back to the start-finish line before standings were official. 28 drivers finishing this race. Billy Elliser, the last of those. And then we had 6 drivers out of the race prior to that final caution. Hewlick, Roberts, Woolley, Elliott, Crivello, and Mobbs. That's going to make things very interesting around that cut line because Ken Roberts, yes, he's won this season, but he and Bernie Mobbs, they were 11th and 12th in points respectively coming into tonight. And Paglia, for sure, is going to jump up into the top 12. Brian Rawson might jump up into the top 12. So might Terry Bombard. So things are going to be very close, very congested around that 12th in the standings cut line for drivers that have not yet won this season, trying to point their way into the playoffs next week. Well, that takes us into our FRN post-race wind down. We showed you all the footage of what happened on that final lap. Let's talk to some of the lucky ones that were able to make their way through the carnage. Let's dial up the driver that brings it home P3 this evening, Terry Bombard.
User was moved.
Hey, Terry,
to your
Michael and Seth
channel.
up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yes, sir, brother. How you doing?
I'll tell you what, we rode on board with you right in the driver's seat with you, getting through that wreck. First thing I got to ask you is, you, out of all the drivers that got through, were the furthest back, 14th, when you took the white flag. How did you get through that? Because there were a couple of near misses.
Yeah, you talk about I usually don't have any good luck at all. I guess I use it all up in one shot all the time, but they just kept wrecking, wrecking and making a hole for me, and I just went right through, and it was like, wow, I was shocked. Almost fell off my chair.
I mean, what a time for it as well, for that good luck to happen. You came into this race only 10 points below 12th in the standings cut line. One more race to go. How badly did you need this run here this evening to set you up in a favorable position to try and point your way or win your way into the playoffs next week?
Needed it bad, but I mean, it's still up in the air also. So I don't even know if that last wreck there going into the corner. I don't know if the 41 thought there was a hole there. The hole was there. And he could get down, but he kept pushing the 2 down on me, and I tried to stay on the line and ended up hitting the 2 and spinning them. So I don't know what they're going to make the call on that, but I couldn't get any lower than I was. And then everything happened in front. But yeah, I needed it. I need it bad, and hopefully it'll get me pretty close. So we'll see what happens.
Obviously, we can't feel the energy of what the drivers are sensing down there with the racing that's going on, but it kind of feels like as we get closer towards the end of this regular season, different drivers with different agendas, mostly revolving around trying to position themselves, whether it's through a win or points, into a playoff position. We kind of get the sense that the aggression level kicks up. Did you get that feeling here tonight, especially as we got towards the end of this race, or did you feel it the entire race here that the energy was just slightly different, maybe a little bit more intense as we draw closer to the end of this regular season?
Oh yeah, you can tell it's more intense because people don't start not letting you get in a little hole. They don't, won't get behind you to push you. They want to take care of themselves. I noticed a lot more of that happening, but I try to. I always tell you, I try to make sure that I'm in the top 32 because I suck at qualifying, and if I ever had to qualify my way in, I would never make it. So I try to. That's my first goal, actually. People may not believe it, but it's just to stay in the top 32 in points. After that, then I worry about everything else. But yeah, it's pretty intense out there, I tell you.
So obviously we don't have the points yet calculated, but based off of the finishing position tonight, a lot of the other drivers around you, you're either going to be just inside the top 12 or maybe right on that 12th position in the point stands. With what you experienced here tonight, the energy you described feeling in the field here this evening, when we go to next week, and we're going to have a lot of drivers in must-win situations, a lot of drivers that need a top 5 or a top 10 to point their way in. Do you have right now, or even before you take the green flag next week, some kind of a pre-race strategy, or is it really going to have to be in the moment when you make the decisions that will hopefully be able to get you into a playoff spot? Did we lose Terry?
Sorry, I was
Nope,
talking. Pushed the wrong button.
you're good.
Yeah, I usually work with Crivello, and when he's in the mood to help me, he will. But other than that, it's just pick and choose who. Sometimes I get some help, sometimes I don't. I try to keep some friends going, but it's hard. But we'll see what happens. I only made the bracket. I won the bracket tonight because of that last wreck, also. So that was a plus on my side. I can't see my luck staying like this next week. Let me tell you.
Well, we say some of the things that you need to have is right place, right time in order to get the good finishes or the wins at super speedways. You got it here tonight. Hopefully we see that momentum continue next week. Congratulations on the podium finish this evening. Terry, before I let you go, though, floor is yours for thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
I'd like to thank Chief Cavello. Helped me, like I said, when he's in the mood, and he's a good guy. We're good friends and help out. I'd like to give a shout out to JT Mayu. Having a little trouble right now. Hope he's getting better, so he should be back soon. Can't wait for you to get back so we can team up on Jeep. And I can thank my son painting all my cars, and RTG, and you guys doing a great job. So keep up the good work, guys.
Terry Bombard, third place here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway. Got through the carnage and reaps the rewards podium finish for driver number 10. Congratulations on the great run, Terry. Looking forward to seeing where you're positioned in preparation for next week's regular season finale as you look to get one of those coveted playoff positions.
Yes, sir.
Let's see if we can now get a hold of the driver
User
that
was
brought
moved
it
out of
home.
your channel.
44 1,000ths short of his second win on the season. Let's see if we can dial up Brian Schilling.
User was moved
Hey,
to
Brian,
your
Michael and
channel.
Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, hey.
Well, normally when there's an explosion, Wile Coyote is on the receiving end of it. Here tonight, though, the explosion takes place and Wiley emerged unharmed. You got through it. You almost pick up the victory here tonight, but you had a very fast 28 breathing down your neck. What more could you have done to keep him in your rearview mirror?
Well, expected, the guy that, and this certain group of us always say we work together and stick together, that he was going to do that. So I didn't defend as much as I should have, so shame on me.
Obviously, the hardship of last week, and here tonight, it wasn't looking like it was going all that well for the 4-car. We saw you go a lap down under green. You ended up getting the lucky dog, got back in the lead lap, started methodically working your way into the top 15, eventually into the top 10, and had a shot there for a good run. You got a great run here tonight with second place. How important was it to kind of get the momentum back as you're still in that fight for the regular season championship?
Oh, for sure, important. I want to apologize to Billy Ellisor. I was losing the draft there, so I was trying to push him. He had a little bit of damage. I ended up spinning him into the inside of the track, giving him more damage. So that's how I got a lap down. But it's good to get some points back. I mean, last week killed me. I was in the trial running 6th, and I crossed the line in 35th. So 30-point swing right there. I mean, I got some back on Jeremy, but Jeremy's a lot like me. He gets what he can. Good consistent racer. So it's going to be a tough 11 points to try to make up.
It's the second straight week, to your point, that we've ended up seeing some massive wrecks late, really race-deciding wrecks in terms of who finishes where. I asked Terry just moments ago, does he feel a difference in a higher intensity of the energy of the field as we get closer to the end of this regular season? Next week, so many different agendas, lots of drivers having to do different things, a lot of must-win situations in order to get playoff spots. I mean, how do you approach next week knowing what a lot of different drivers have on the line, especially with the fact that we've seen a lot of game-changing wrecks late on in these events, and we may end up seeing one next week?
I may just stick with what worked here tonight. Just, I mean, thankfully I restarted on the bottom late in that race, and when things went crazy, I just swung it as low as I could to get away from everything on the apron, and it worked. But I'm just gonna have to, do the best I can, without putting myself in a bad position.
It's going to be a lot of fun to kind of watch the mental chess game that goes on next week. It'll be a lot of points, obviously, on the line. As I said, a lot of different agendas. Drivers trying to make playoff spots. You yourself and a number of others in the hunt for the extra 15 bonus points for the regular season championship. So, going to be a lot to cover, a lot to keep track of when you guys take the green flag next week. But congratulations on the second place performance here tonight. Brian, before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
All right. Well, I wish I could have parked the Acme Corporation car in Victory Lane. That would have been. I would love to do it for Wiley. It it still hurts just as much as the day I heard. He was always a good friend. So, like I said, I wanted that one bad for him, but we still got what six or seven more races left. I'm gonna get that car in Victory Lane by the end of the year. So I will try my hardest to get first place in that car. But thank you to everybody that donates to put this league or keep this league going, to put the broadcasts on, and thank you guys for the broadcast. It's always fun to go back and watch.
Absolutely. That's Brian Schilling. You heard 6 more chances to be able to get that second win on the season. Put that number 4 in victory lane. And of course, as well, going to be in that hunt for the championship when the playoffs begin after next week. Brian, congratulations on the great run tonight. Great wreck avoidance to garner some well needed points. And best of luck next week in that regular season finale.
Thanks, guys.
And let's go down
User
to
was moved
victory
out of
lane.
your
Let's see if we
channel.
can dial up our first repeat winner on the season, Mark Paglia.
User was moved
Hey,
to
Mark,
your
Michael, and
channel.
Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I sure do.
I'll tell you what, I don't think we expected to talk to you so soon. Back to back, my guy here. What an amazing final stretch down the regular season you're having. Got that first victory to lock you into the playoffs last week. You double down here this week. We'll obviously jump above that 12th in the standings cut line. I mean, not only do you add an extra 5 playoff points there with the victory tonight, but now you're putting yourself up to garner more points when the playoffs are put together. If you finish up inside of the top 12, I mean, the momentum is definitely on your side, but you had to avoid that big wreck on the back straightaway. So I'll start with the question I asked both of the other previous drivers as well. How in the world did you get through all of that? Because I thought for a moment everybody was going to get swept up and it was going to be the first one to get going again was going to win this thing.
I completely agree with you. I thought I was going to get swept up in that too, but I just slowed down just a little bit and tried to maneuver, right, left, just to avoid the cars. And, the seas opened up and I just squeaked through there. I just luck. That's all I can label that one on. I think Brian also got lucky through there.
So talk about going through the trial. Well, had the shot there, had the momentum to be able to go for the race win. It was looking like, though, you had your left sides down on the yellow, was kind of stalling out your momentum. Were you worried at some point that maybe the 4 could surge just ahead of you? How close you think it was going to be?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be very close. Yeah, when I scrubbed down on the yellow line like that, I thought that was really going to slow me down. But to be honest, I feel bad about getting past Brian because we're teammates and I should have stayed behind him. That was not a good teammate thing to do on my part, and I know he's not happy with me, and I wouldn't be happy with me either. But as you can see, as most of my seasons go, I'm not very close to winning a lot of these races. And when I saw it there, all I could see was the checkered flag, and I was just going to go for it. But if I were to do it all over again, I would have stayed behind Brian and pushed him to that win. That was not a smart move on my part as a teammate.
Well, first multi-time winner on the season, obviously now solidified in the playoffs. Be interesting to see where you're positioned points-wise in preparation for next week. And, got to feel good about the fact that you've got those 2 wins in your pocket now, because if what we've seen out of these last couple of races is anything to go by, next week is going to be wild. A lot of different drivers with a lot of different scenarios to be able to make it into the postseason or preserve their spots in the postseason. We've now had back-to-back weeks where there have been some points changing wrecks in the closing stages that have knocked drivers out of the overall points lead, knocked drivers in or out of that 12th in the standings cut line, or moved drivers potentially into the top 20 to win their way into the playoffs. I mean, with that being said, how do you approach next week? I mean, you've got all the luxury in the world, really, to be able to try and go for a third one next week.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be my plan. I really got to make it up to Brian. I think I'm going to do everything I can to get behind him and make it up to him and try to get Tim a win, get him solid in the top 8. So that's going to be my objective, to get those guys, both Tim and Brian. I think Chuck's sitting pretty good, but I need to, do as much as I can to help Brian and Tim and get them a win and get them up close to the front.
Well, Mark Paglia, back-to-back weeks, he puts the number 28 in victory lane. First repeat winner on the season, and is automatically now going to be one of your playoff contenders at the conclusion of next week's race at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Mark, congratulations on the victory here tonight. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Thank you, Seth, and thanks for all you do and what you and Michael do as far as narrating these races. You guys do a great job. And for Josh and Tim, they put on a heck of a show for us every Thursday night. It's the most popular night we have in racing. So much goes out to those guys. And again, I just one more time, I apologize to Brian Schilling. I shouldn't have done that as a teammate. So I just took advantage of him. I shouldn't have done that. But thanks again, and I appreciate all that you do.
Mark Paglia, two-time winner here in season 63. He celebrates tonight at Talladega Super Speedway in preparation for next week's playoff grid to be put together at the conclusion of the regular season finale. Best of luck there, Mark. Congrats on the victory tonight.
Thank you. Good night, man.
User was moved out of your
Well,
channel.
Michael, I usually ask you a lot of the keys to the race, what the mentality should be heading into one of these things. I think we've got at least a general idea of what everybody's mentality next week is going to be. Get to the white flag lap, and then just hope you're in the right place to avoid the wreck, because we've had
Pretty much.
back-to-back weeks where we have had in the closing stages wrecks take place just before they take the checkered flag, and we have seen the point standings flip-flop as a result. We have seen the playoff standings flip-flop. I think next week we may be on to same song, third verse.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be fun to watch, and I can't wait for it.
We'll try and make sure that we have everybody aware of what all the different playoff scenarios are next week, what drivers will need to do to be able to make their way into the postseason. Obviously, for all of our previous 6 winners, they are locked in. None of them, I believe, here tonight would have had a finish low enough to fall anywhere close to being out of the top 20 in points, even with the DNF next week. So I think they are all safely locked in, but a lot of question marks around other drivers, because drivers like Sullins and Nofsker and Mobbs and Wesley and Despirito, where are they all positioned now at the conclusion? Terry Bombard with a podium finish here tonight. It's going to be really, really tight around that 12th in the standings cut line, and you do not want to be in a tight points battle at a track like a super speedway. And Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway is going to have the honors of setting up that playoff grid next Thursday night. Cannot wait for that one. Michael, another straight week that we are treated to a nail-biter as to who's going to come out on top here in the closing stages here tonight at Talladega. I appreciate you joining me up in the booth.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's also some fun to be here.
What was the final count of sodas you got through here?
4.
4? So four cans to an RTG race. That's the mileage that apparently you get, the average mileage.
Pretty much, give or take.
But thanks to everybody for tuning to our coverage here tonight. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. Next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us right back here on FRN as we bring you the regular season finale of the 63rd season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. You will not want to miss it. Again, thanks to Michael for joining me up in the booth here tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support.